In the depths beneath the azure waters, time seems to stand still. Imagine the ancient metropolises, the once thriving capitals, now slumbering in the silent embrace of the ocean. The remnants of brilliant civilizations, architectural works that once proudly reached for the sun, now lie submerged half a mile beneath the sea. These forgotten cities, resting silently in the water's heart for millennia, carry with them secrets that history has inadvertently left behind. They are not isolated cases. Across our planet, from the Mediterranean to the Pacific, the seabed is the resting place of countless lost kingdoms. Statistics show that in the Mediterranean Sea alone, more than 200 cities lie lonely and cold in the eternal darkness. What we can discover today are merely fragments, traces of civilizations that mainstream archaeology once insisted no longer existed. But those ruins are still there, challenging all our understanding. Could the colossal stone structures at the bottom of the ocean be proof of humanity's earliest civilizations? Could they be irrefutable evidence of the extraordinary building skills of primitive people, a level of technology we thought impossible to exist? And if so, the biggest question arises: where did these transcendent skills come from? Indigenous legends across the world, from the Americas to Australia, all tell of a distant time when something or someone descended from the sky. And then, suddenly, profound knowledge of astronomy, architecture, and mathematics became widespread. From time immemorial, fishermen and sailors on ocean voyages have endlessly passed down strange myths of mysterious lights emanating from beneath the water, of unidentified objects shooting up from the sea and vanishing into the air. From these stories, a bold idea emerges. Perhaps down there are not just ruins, but active bases of a race not of this earth. Millions of people around the world believe that in the distant past, extraterrestrial visitors once visited us. If that is true, could they be the ones who helped us change and reshape the entire history of humanity? And if so, what might the ruins in the deep sea reveal about a hidden past? The vast ocean, covering more than 71% of the planet's surface, remains the most mysterious realm. Most of what lies within it is still unknown to man. An astonishing fact is that humanity has only mapped and understood about 5% of the ocean floor. It is no exaggeration to say that our discoveries of the vast universe are more extensive than our understanding of the world right beneath our feet. For a long time, we could only speculate about lost civilizations through vague history books. But today, with modern technology, humans have been able to invent devices that can dive deeper, operate longer, and gather more information than ever before. This is the premise for a revolution in archaeology, allowing researchers from all over the world to begin the journey of searching and exploring the underwater world, a long-held, burning desire. And from here, a series of incredible discoveries have been brought to light, forcing us to be bewildered and to question the entire historical narrative we have always believed in. Beneath the deep blue ocean out there are not inanimate rocks, but massive architectural complexes, intricately built monuments, and neatly paved stone roads. They are the ruins of urban civilizations in various regions across the Earth. Some are believed to date back 10,000 years, others even much older than that. The mysterious curtain of the past is slowly being unveiled, but what it reveals is more unbelievable than any legend. So, how could these enormous cities have sunk deep beneath the sea? The answer lies not in mythology, but in the geological history of our planet itself. Scientists today believe that at the end of the last ice age, the face of the Earth looked completely different from now. The oceans had receded, exposing vast, fertile coastal lands, ideal places for early civilizations to sprout and flourish. This is not a baseless speculation. Geological evidence has shown that during the most recent glacial period, the entire area of present-day northern Europe and North America was covered by a permanent ice sheet, in some places up to 2 miles thick. That was a colossal volume of fresh water, locked in a solid state, causing the global sea level to be hundreds of meters lower than it is today. Around 21,000 years ago, a major change began. With the end of the Ice Age, the Earth's climate gradually warmed. The great melting process began. Giant glaciers slowly retreated, releasing millions upon millions of cubic meters of water into the oceans. This process lasted for millennia and ended around 10,000 years ago. As a result, the sea level rose slowly but unstoppably, submerging coastal lands worldwide. According to scientists' estimates, this process swallowed about 10 million square miles, or nearly 26 million square kilometers, of land. To put it in perspective, a landmass equivalent to the entirety of Europe and China combined has permanently disappeared beneath the waves. And everything that lay on this huge area, cities, temples, cultures, and perhaps millions of lives, was simply erased from history. It can be said that modern archaeology has not yet truly appreciated the scale of this catastrophe, nor has it told us the full story of what transpired throughout Earth's long history. But while science is still struggling to piece together the fragments, for thousands of years, sages have known and passed down one of the greatest mysteries of the sea, a story that has become immortal, the legend of the lost city of Atlantis. Most of the knowledge we have about Atlantis comes from a single source, the great Greek sage, Plato. In his 2 dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BC, Plato described Atlantis not as a vague myth, but as a real, powerful empire. He described it as an extraordinarily planned city, with city walls and canals forming concentric circles, a masterpiece of engineering and art. According to Plato, the Atlantean civilization flourished and reached a level of advancement far beyond any contemporary nation. But the most interesting part of Plato's story lies not just in its architecture, but in its origin. Greek mythology tells that the first citizens of Atlantis had contact with the gods from the very beginning of their formation and development. Legend has it that Atlantis was an island built and gifted by Poseidon, the god of the sea in Greek mythology, to his wife, Cleito. As we have hypothesized in previous videos, is it possible that the gods in ancient stories, with their extraordinary power and technology, were actually extraterrestrial travelers whose level of advancement was misunderstood by ancient people as supernatural magic? If so, Poseidon, who is said to have created Atlantis, could also have been one of them. The story goes that Poseidon and Cleito had 5 pairs of twin sons. These 10 sons ruled the kingdom together, with the eldest son, named Atlas, becoming the first king. His name was later given to both the city and the ocean surrounding it, the Atlantic Ocean. Plato described a glorious civilization, but he also told of its origin, a story tied to the gods. Gods who, according to mythology, did not entirely belong to this world. So, who were the true founders of Atlantis? And what does their story reveal about the connection between humanity and the stars? According to Plato's account, the 10 sons of Poseidon jointly created a utopian kingdom. They built a colossal temple to pay homage to their divine father. At the center of the temple was a statue of Poseidon made of pure gold, standing on a chariot pulled by winged steeds. This structure was so magnificent as to be unimaginable, housed within a temple with a spiraling dome that reached so high It seemed to touch the clouds. Around it, Poseidon had also built a separate palace for his muse Cleito, an architectural masterpiece surrounded by large canals, wide enough for the largest ships to pass through. The city walls surrounding the palaces were built of 3 different types of stone, red, white, and black, and were adorned with rare, precious metals that sparkled under the sun. The city of Atlantis was not only beautiful, but also incredibly prosperous. It was a perfectly self-sufficient area, where the people grew their own food and raised livestock. Farmers cultivated the fertile plains in the outskirts with the help of a complex and perfectly maintained irrigation system, an astonishing technical achievement for that era. They also built beautiful buildings and other architectural works from the readily available black and red stone materials. Atlantis was a center of prosperity. Its inhabitants discovered and mined many types of rare metals. They even created alloys the world had never known, like orichalcum, a metal described as emitting a light-like fire. Countless types of rare crystals, like diamonds, were used not only for jewelry, but also for more advanced entertainment and technological purposes. But what truly set Atlantis apart was not just its material wealth. It is believed that the inhabitants of this city possessed special powers and technologies far beyond all human limits. Legend tells that they had the ability to control the weather, creating favorable rain and wind or violent storms. They could influence and modify volcanic eruptions. Some documents even imply that they possessed some type of crystal device that allowed them to harness energy from the cosmos, bending space and time. This was a civilization that had reached the pinnacle of power, a society where the line between human and divine seemed to have been erased. However, anything that reaches its peak must eventually decline. According to Plato, after failing in an attempt to conquer the city of Athens, a terrible catastrophe struck the island of Atlantis. Plato recounted that Atlantis was completely destroyed in just a single fateful day and night. A horrific earthquake, followed by giant tsunamis, struck, destroying and submerging the entire city and the whole island into the deep sea. The most glorious civilization vanished without a trace. Some modern researchers hypothesize that the demise of Atlantis came not from nature, but from within. That a catastrophic civil war occurred among the Atlanteans, and with some kind of destructive weapon, they annihilated each other. But all of this remains a hypothesis, very difficult to verify. The biggest question, the one that has tormented the minds of explorers, historians, and scientists for centuries, is: where does Atlantis lie today? For a long time, many doubted its existence, believing it was just a fable Plato created to teach humanity about arrogance. Atlantis might just be a dream, an image of a perfect society destroyed by its own complacency. However, in 1968, a surprising discovery revived the legend. Archaeologist Manson Valentine, while diving off the northern coast of Bimini Island in the Bahamas, believed he had found the first fragment of the legendary city. He discovered a strange stone structure lying at a depth of only about 4 to 5 meters below the water's surface. A massive paved stone road called the Bimini Road. Initially, when the Bimini Road was discovered, the mainstream scientific community quickly dismissed it. They argued it was merely a natural rock formation, a geological phenomenon called beach rock, created over thousands of years by the accumulation and cementation of coastal sediments. But when other, more open-minded explorers came to survey Bimini Island, they noticed unusual things. The structure seemed too perfect, too orderly to be a random product of nature. The giant stones, some up to 5 meters long, were arranged with astonishing precision. More importantly, they discovered that some stones seemed to be propped on top of other stones purposefully, with even smaller stones wedged between them, seemingly to create balance. Mother Nature can create great wonders, but she never works with a ruler and a plumb line. There was an unavoidable speculation that these stones were arranged by an intelligent hand. As the scope of research expanded to the surrounding area, an even bigger secret began to be revealed. The Bimini Road was not a solitary path. It appeared to be part of a much larger structure. Scientists vaguely realized that this could very well be an ancient harbor, and the stones they initially studied were part of a breakwater. This result truly excited everyone. They knew they were on the threshold of a historic discovery. Following the ocean currents, archaeologists found more complex things, structures that looked like the foundations of buildings, thoroughfares and trails that had been covered by sea sand. They had to be studied and surveyed very carefully to be recognized. Could the findings in the waters of Bimini be the remnants of the ancient continent of Atlantis? And if so, could these routes lead to other locations, more complete cities, still buried under sand and water? The answer to that question may have arrived in the year 2000. While on a mission to map the seabed off the western coast of Cuba, an exploration team, led by oceanographer Pauline Zalitsky, stumbled upon something unbelievable. Their sonar equipment recorded perfectly symmetrical stone structures lying deep beneath the water's surface. What was remarkable was that they were at a depth of more than half a mile, about 700 meters. At this depth, the water pressure is extreme, and sunlight can never reach. They had to use a remotely operated vehicle, ROV, equipped with high-resolution cameras and robotic arms that could collect samples. What the ROV transmitted back to the monitors on the mothership stunned the entire expedition team. On the dark seabed, a lost city appeared. They discovered giant, exquisitely cut blocks of stone, some complex structures that could be up to 400 meters wide and 40 meters high. Some large stones were placed neatly on top of others, showing sharp angles and absolute symmetry, unmistakable signs of an artificial construction. Not a single scientist present at that moment thought these were naturally formed rocks. They could also see straight lines stretching out like avenues, and most notably, the expedition discovered massive pyramid-shaped structures. About 30 geometric structures were found, shaped like streets, buildings, tunnels, and pyramids, all submerged in eternal darkness. Dating methods based on the presence of nearby volcanic ash estimated that this city had been underwater for over 6,000 years. Could it be that this was some part of the Atlantean civilization that sank between 9,000 and 10,000 years ago, as the philosopher Plato spoke of? When connecting their discoveries with the ruins remaining on land, archaeologists noticed many astonishing correlations in architecture with an ancient civilization. A civilization that already held countless mysteries that intrigued modern scholars. The civilization I am referring to is the Maya. Much compelling evidence suggests that the Maya may not have been a civilization that developed independently from its inception, but rather the direct descendants of a more technologically powerful civilization, a mother culture that suddenly vanished from the earth. When observing the sonar scan images of the underwater site off Cuba, one cannot help but be reminded of the complex of pyramids and buildings on the Yucatan Peninsula. There seems to be a missing link in the flow of history. This could explain why we do not find any early developmental stage of Mayan civilization. They seem to appear in history suddenly, with a complete system of knowledge in medicine, mathematics, and especially astronomy, achievements that would require thousands of years of research and development. It is very possible that our best connection to the ancient past is through the Mayan civilization and the messages they tried to convey to posterity, encoded in their architectural works and art. Some suggest that the Maya we know were the generation of survivors from the Great Flood that submerged their homeland. After the disaster, All complex labor tools and machinery were lost. With a small group of survivors, they had to start rebuilding their civilization from scratch. Evidence for this exists in many Mayan cities across Central America. When scientists excavate the buildings, they find very early settlements and structures just below the surface. An interesting point to note is that the oldest pyramids are the most complex and sophisticated structures, indicating an extremely high level of construction technique. But this technique seems to have been lost in later years. Perhaps the natural disaster that struck destroyed most of the elite, and once again, they had to start over with the most rudimentary means. Now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The Bahamas, where the Bimini Road is located, and Cuba, with its underwater pyramid city, are all part of a complex of ruins located right on the western edge of a famously mysterious area, the Bermuda Triangle. This is a region of the ocean covering more than 500,000 square miles, famous for its anomalous magnetic fields, UFO sightings, and the inexplicable mysterious disappearances of ships and airplanes. The philosopher Plato spoke of an empire on islands. He may have been talking about dozens of different islands, stretching from the western Atlantic out to the middle of the ocean. The entire seabed from Bimini to the western coast of Cuba today could very well have once been a system of cities belonging to the same highly developed lost civilization. And right at the heart of this mystery, in 1977, scientists discovered an almost unbelievable structure on the seabed of the Bermuda region. It was a giant pyramid, believed to have a surface structure as smooth as glass or crystal. Reports described the water around it as sparkling brightly, while the structure itself was a deep blue color, a strange contrast in the deep ocean. This structure is said to have a base 300 meters wide and a height of up to 200 meters, significantly larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. A hidden location beneath the ocean where colossal mysterious structures appear, along with strange phenomena, the appearance of unidentified objects. Do you believe that all of this has no connection, but is merely a random coincidence? Coincidences cannot repeat so many times. All this evidence once again reinforces the belief that we may have found the trail leading to the legendary continent of Atlantis. And with the reports of UFOs in the Bermuda Triangle, it is hard not to suspect that the founders of Atlantis never truly left. It's very possible that this place is still a secret base for extraterrestrial beings, and the deep ocean has simply helped to hide it from the curious eyes of humanity. Are we engrossed in searching for distant stars, while the visitors from other galaxies never truly left this planet? Could it be that they are still here, right under our feet, in a silent kingdom hidden by the ocean, waiting for the moment to reveal themselves once more? Beneath the white-capped waves of the Pacific Ocean, in a deep blue sea off the coast of Japan, lies a secret that has slept for millennia. This is Yonaguni, the westernmost island of the land of the rising sun, a land that carries within it stories of ancient migrations where the first people of Asia are believed to have set foot on this archipelago. But the truly astonishing story lies not on the land, but hidden deep beneath the azure waters. Nearly half a century ago, divers exploring the sea south of the island happened upon an unbelievable sight. Not a common coral reef, not a natural rock formation, but the clear ruins of man-made structures. A square structure covered in coral, giant steps that seem to lead to a lost sacred place, roads, and even a dome-shaped building. A silent architectural complex, stretching about 200 meters from west to east and 140 meters from north to south, with its highest point rising from a depth of 26 meters, as if trying to recount the story of a forgotten era. On a fateful day in 1986, Mr. Kihachiro Arataki, a local diver, while searching for a new dive spot, accidentally unveiled this secret to the modern world. What he saw were not jumbled rocks arranged by nature. Before his eyes was an ancient stone architecture in the terraced form of pyramids, with edges crafted with astonishing precision. A colossal block of stone up to 100 meters long, with tunnels more than 2 meters deep running through it. His discovery was a shock. Experts called it one of the greatest finds in the history of underwater archaeology. Immediately, an exploratory team from Ryukyu University was formed, beginning an 8-year research project. The more they searched, the more astonished they became. Countless other artifacts were discovered. A turtle-shaped stone structure, a structure resembling a temple surrounded by giant pillars, a wall carved with a human head, and a majestic archway. Among the scientists captivated by this mystery, none was more dedicated than Professor Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist at Ryukyu University. For over 15 years, he made hundreds of dives, meticulously measuring and mapping the sleeping city. He found tool marks on the stones, faint hieroglyphic characters, and even sculptures of animals. After years of tireless research, Professor Kimura reached a bold conclusion, a conclusion that could rewrite the entire history of humanity. He declared, "This was no trick of nature. This was the remnant of a glorious civilization, an ancient city submerged by a terrifying earthquake some 12,000 years ago. The largest structure, a giant stepped pyramid, is believed to have been formed at the end of the Ice Age, when the sea level was lower and this area was still on land. That means this great monument is thousands of years older than Egypt's Giza Pyramid or Stonehenge in England, an ancient city with avenues, stairs, archways, and stone blocks carved to perfect precision, existing even before the greatest civilizations we have ever known. This idea is both frightening and immensely curious. But if this is truly an ancient city, then who were the architects that created it? What civilization possessed a level of technology and vision that surpassed even the empires of Mesopotamia and the Indus River, only to vanish without a trace in the flow of history? Imagine a giant pyramid, not built in the hot desert, but carved from a single mother stone, lying dormant at the bottom of the ocean. This is the heart of Yonaguni. With a width of up to 183 meters and a height of nearly 28 meters, this 5-tiered structure is a powerful testament to an unbelievable level of engineering. Scientists believe it was formed at the end of the Ice Age, around 10,000 years ago, when this place was still dry land. A legacy more ancient than the greatest wonders of the ancient world. But this is not just a solitary pyramid. Around it, explorers have discovered an entire network of smaller structures, similar to satellite pyramids, each about 10 meters wide and 2 meters high. A road seems to have been designed to circle the main structure, from which large avenues, majestic staircases, archways, and giant stone blocks carved with astonishing precision and meticulousness radiate. Everything connects harmoniously, forming a unique architectural whole. This is clearly not a product of nature. This is what remains of an ancient city, methodically planned. The most pressing question echoes throughout the scientific community. How could such a city exist at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean? The Atlantis expedition, in its documentary, stated with certainty that this is a man-made structure. Geologists from Boston University, USA, noted that the giant steps were created from a series of 1-meter-high rock layers, a deliberate construction technique. Archaeologists at the University of London went even further, believing that the people who built this structure possessed a level of advancement far beyond the civilizations of Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. And then, the mystery deepened. In 1995, a sport diver discovered another massive stone slab, placed neatly and at a right angle, with an estimated age of about 8,000 years. What is remarkable is the sophisticated carving technique and the perfectly fitted dome, evoking an astonishing resemblance to the architectural style of the Inca civilization on the other side of the hemisphere. Nearby, a wall carved with a human head was found, with its features still very clear, strangely similar to the giant head statues in Peru. But the most shocking discovery, the irrefutable evidence of a developed civilization, was the rows of hieroglyphic characters carved deep into a stone wall. This is no longer a story about talented stonemasons. This is evidence of a language, a writing system, a means to record history and knowledge, a tremendously advanced human culture, yet completely unknown to us. Geological evidence shows that there are no traces of limestone islands in the surrounding area, meaning this structure must have once been above sea level. So, who was this great civilization? Why did they, with all their progress, never appear in any page of human history? So why did such a glorious civilization vanish without a trace, submerged under tens of meters of water? The answer lies not in a single earthquake, but in the great flow of time itself, in an event that reshaped our entire planet. Geological evidence has shown that the only time when lands like Yonaguni were above ground was during the final phase of the last ice age. Let's turn back the clock about 14,000 years. The world then was a very different place. Giant ice sheets covered much of the northern hemisphere. The ocean level was hundreds of meters lower than it is today. As the planet warmed, the permanent ice sheets began to melt. Water from the glaciers poured into the oceans, causing the sea level to rise, slowly swallowing coastlines and low-lying lands. It was a process that lasted for thousands of years, a silent but irresistible invasion by the sea. This leads us to an almost certain conclusion. The city of Yonaguni was built on land, before being submerged by the ocean. But this very logical conclusion opens up a profound paradox, a difficult question that challenges all our understanding of human history. According to mainstream archaeologists, 14,000 years ago, our ancestors were just cave dwellers, surviving by hunting and gathering. They were nomadic tribes with crude stone tools who had not yet discovered agriculture, architecture, or a complex organized society. We are faced with an extremely contradictory picture. On one hand, the image of primitive people struggling to survive day by day, not even guaranteed a full stomach. On the other hand, the legacy of brilliant architects, people capable of planning and building an entire city of stone with incredible scale and precision. Archaeologists have found fossilized human remains in this area, confirming that they once existed here. But that presence only deepens the mystery. The issue here is no longer just about the technique of carving stone slabs. The issue is the scale, the level of organization. Who gathered thousands of laborers? Who designed the complex blueprints? Who had the vision to create such a harmonious architectural complex? How could a hunter-gatherer society, focused solely on daily survival, have spared the resources, time, and knowledge to create such symbolic structures, such giant ceremonial areas like this? The history we know seems to have no place for such a civilization. They stand outside the flow of time, a chapter torn from the annals of humanity. If Japanese scholars assert that their ancestors could not have created this structure, and if Stone Age people did not possess that capability, then we are left with a vast void, an unanswered question. When explanations based on traditional history prove powerless, humans are forced to turn to more daring hypotheses. One of them, though highly controversial, opens up an entirely new perspective: the ancient astronaut theory. Adherents of this theory suggest that the answer to the Yonaguni mystery lies not in a lost civilization of Earth, but comes from the stars. They believe that an extraterrestrial race, with superior technology, created this architectural complex in a distant past, when human advancement was only at the level of the Stone Age. It may sound fantastical at first, but supporters of this theory point to an astonishing fact, a geographical coincidence that cannot be easily dismissed. The Yonaguni Monument Complex is located right inside a notorious region of the Pacific Ocean, a name that has long evoked fear and mystery: the Dragon's Triangle. Located south of Japan, this area is nicknamed the Bermuda Triangle of the Pacific. Like its famous twin in the Atlantic, the Dragon's Triangle is the stage for countless disappearances of planes and ships without a trace. The danger is so real that the Japanese government has officially declared it an unusual hazard area, warning all vessels not to travel through it. In Japanese folklore, from ancient to modern times, there have always been stories of sea dragons appearing in this region. But if we strip away the mythical layer and analyze those descriptions through a modern lens, a different picture emerges. Ancient records tell of unidentified objects rising from the water's surface and then soaring into the sky, of winged monsters that could emit brilliant flames. Does this remind you of anything? The similarity becomes clearer when we compare it to what Christopher Columbus recorded in his logbook as he passed near the Bermuda Triangle. He saw large fireballs plunging into the ocean, and strange streams of light rising from the water. On two sides of the planet, in the two strangest seas, we have similar accounts of unidentified flying objects appearing from beneath the seabed. And here is the crucial point. Geographically, both the Bermuda Triangle and the Dragon's Triangle lie on the same latitude, the 25th parallel north. A random coincidence, or a sign of a global network we never knew existed? Both places have mysterious underwater pyramids. Some have even hypothesized that these pyramids are not tombs or temples, but giant energy machines, created to attract and store energy from the cosmos, perhaps causing the magnetic disturbances and mysterious disappearances. If the monuments at Yonaguni are indeed of extraterrestrial origin, could they have used these two triangular areas as bases? If we accept the possibility that aliens have operated on land, then why couldn't they operate underwater? But perhaps the most incredible evidence of such an encounter lies not at the bottom of the sea, but is carefully recorded in a true story, an event that has baffled Japanese historians for the past 200 years, the story of a mysterious ship and a visitor from an unknown world. The history of Japan, an island nation with mysteries tied to the ocean, holds a strange story, an event that was carefully documented yet defies all logic. Let's go back to March 22nd, 1803. On the coast of Haratono-hama in Hitachi Province, villagers discovered a strange object that had drifted ashore. It was a boat, but unlike any boat they had ever seen. It was round in shape like an incense burner, over 3 meters high and nearly 5.5 meters wide. The upper part was made of red lacquered rosewood, while the lower part was pieced together from metal plates that looked like brass. Transparent glass or crystal windows with iron bars were sealed with a strange kind of tree resin, and on the hull, people saw rows of characters, a language no one could read. When they pulled the ship ashore, they discovered something even more astonishing. Inside was a single passenger, a beautiful young girl, about 18 to 20 years old, around 1.5 meters tall. Everything about her was unusual. Her hair and eyebrows were a vibrant red, extended by white artificial fibers. Her skin was strangely rosy. The clothes she wore looked incredibly luxurious, made from a fabric that no one recognized. She spoke in a melodious but incomprehensible language, and in her hands she clutched a small box, determined not to let anyone touch it. The villagers were bewildered. Who was she? Where did she come from? Did this ship depart from the submerged city of Yonaguni? And what did that box contain that she was so determined to protect? Frightening rumors began to spread that the box contained a human head. Terrified, the villagers decided to return the girl and the boat to the sea, pushing it out to drift, letting the mystery once again float into the unknown. This ship, known as the Utsurobune, or Hollow Ship, has become one of the greatest mysteries in Japanese history. And the mystery does not stop there. Going back even further into the past, to the Jomon period, or Japan's Neolithic age, their ancestors left behind thousands of strange artifacts. They are small terracotta figurines called dog. Dog statues have features that make them one of the most baffling ancient artworks on the planet. When you look at them, do you notice anything? They do not look like normal human figures. They look like creatures wearing some kind of protective suit. Could it be a space suit? The statues are depicted wearing helmets or large goggles with straps. Some have strangely elongated heads, and their eyes are always huge, disproportionate to the body. To ancient astronaut theorists, the answer is clear. These are portraits of extraterrestrial beings who visited Earth thousands of years ago. More than 15,000 dog statues have been found throughout Japan, each one reinforcing the hypothesis that these figures are depicting a suit designed to withstand the pressure of space, or a diving suit for underwater explorers. Ancient Japanese legend says that human life was bestowed by the descendants of the sky. It was these visitors from the cosmos who taught the first people of Japan everything, from culture, language, architecture, to even eating habits. From the kimono, the art of the tea ceremony, to how to build houses. Every aspect of Japanese culture seems to mention gods who came from the stars. So, what are we left with? A submerged city, older than recorded history. A mysterious sea region with anomalous phenomena. A recorded encounter with an unidentified visitor. And thousands of ancient statues depicting beings in spacesuits. Could it all be just a coincidence? Or are they pieces of a larger puzzle, a forgotten story about our true origins, about the teachers who came from the sky and the bases hidden at the bottom of the ocean? On the arid, sun-scorched lands of Arizona, amidst the blazing red canyons and deserts that stretch to the horizon, an ancient tribe endures, preserving a cultural heritage that spans millennia. They are the Hopi people. Amidst the relentless flow of the modern world, they still quietly tell the stories of their ancestors through rituals and through sacred, unique objects. One of these is the Kachina dolls. Meticulously carved from cottonwood root, each Kachina doll is not a toy, but an embodiment of spirits, of the deities who govern the natural world. They take on strange forms, with large round eyes, disproportionate heads, and complex symbols painted on their bodies. To the Hopi, these are messengers between the human world and the spirit world. But when we look at them, a strangely familiar feeling arises in our minds. Their shape, though ancient, evokes images of something not of this place. But the strangeness does not stop there. If we leave the Arizona desert and travel back in time, across the vast ocean, we will arrive at a land even larger and harsher, the Sahara Desert in Africa. Hidden deep within ancient caves concealed from the world's eyes for thousands of years are paintings on the rock walls. Amidst drawings of mammoths and hunting scenes, there is an image that would stun anyone. A large creature, with a round head, no mouth, and a body that seems to be encased in a bulky suit. When you look at this image, a single word will pop into your mind without a doubt: astronaut. And this mysterious chain of connections continues, taking us to an archipelago on the other side of the globe. In ancient Japan, the Jomon culture left behind clay statues called doge. These figures have large, bulging eyes, resembling a pair of modern goggles. Their bodies are decorated with complex patterns, reminiscent of a pressure suit. No one is certain what the purpose of the dog statues was, but their resemblance to our depiction of space travelers is undeniable. A sacred doll from North America, a 1,000-year-old painting on a Sahara cliff face, a clay statue from ancient Japan. Three cultures, thousands of miles and thousands of years apart, yet all created figurines with a strangely similar appearance. Is this merely a random coincidence of human imagination? Or are these the pieces of a larger story, tangible evidence of a long-forgotten encounter in human history? Did our ancestors not only look up at the stars, but were they also visited by those from the stars? These silent figures cannot answer. They only pose questions. But perhaps the answer lies not in these small creations, but somewhere grander, evidence on an unimaginably massive scale, lying dormant beneath the white-capped waves of the ocean. Our journey continues, taking us to the waters off the coast of India, where an accidental discovery has the potential to rewrite the entire history of humanity. In 2001, in the Gulf of Kambat, off the northwestern coast of India, a team of oceanographers was conducting what seemed to be a very ordinary mission, surveying the pollution levels of the Gulf. Their ship glided gently over the water, towing modern sonar scanning equipment. Inside, scientists monitored the monotonous images appearing on the screen, the curves and ripples of a familiar seabed. They didn't expect to find anything except mud, sand, and traces of modern civilization. But then, suddenly, an unusual signal appeared, an anomaly. On the screen, nearly perfect geometric lines began to emerge from the darkness. They were not the creations of nature. They were too orderly, too purposeful. Confused and curious, they had the ship scan the area over and over again. And then, the hazy picture gradually came into focus, revealing an unbelievable truth. Lying deep beneath 60 meters of water, covered by the mud and sand of 9,000 years, was a vast network of stone buildings. The ghosts of avenues, the foundations of great architectural works, all forming an urban area stretching over 5 square miles. This was not a small village. This was a city, a completely submerged ancient city. This discovery was earth-shattering. According to the mainstream timeline of archaeologists, at the time this city sank into the sea, cities of such scale and complexity simply did not exist anywhere in the world. It was believed that humanity's early civilization was still in its nomadic hunting and gathering phase, lacking the technical skills and social organization to construct such monumental architectural works. And yet, there it was, silent, proud, challenging all the knowledge we ever knew about our own past. In search of answers, scientists collected dozens of artifacts from the site, including pottery shards and miraculously preserved pieces of wood. When these samples were sent for radiocarbon dating, the results were even more astonishing. One of the samples, a piece of wood crafted by human hands, was dated to be 32,000 years old. Let's pause for a moment to reflect on that number. The oceanographers concluded that this area was swallowed by the ocean about 9,000 years ago. This means that this city, an organized metropolis, had existed and flourished sometime between 32,000 and 9,000 years ago. This figure directly contradicts the views of mainstream scholars who maintain that India's great civilization only began about 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. However, Indian scientists and ancient texts themselves have long claimed that their civilization is much more ancient, tens or even hundreds of thousands of years old. Could the ruins at the bottom of the Gulf of Kambat be the first concrete evidence proving that those seemingly mythical claims are, in fact, historical truth? And if such a great city existed in an unimaginably distant past, was it the only one? Or are there others, names only whispered in ancient legends, also waiting to be discovered? Could it be that this ghost city under the Gulf of Kambat has a name associated with one of the most revered gods in Indian culture? Inspired by the shocking discovery in the Gulf of Kambat, archaeologists began searching in another area about 200 miles northwest of the modern city of Dwarka. They had a hunch, a bold hypothesis that mythological stories were not mere tales, and what they found surpassed all expectations. As the divers descended to a depth of 25 meters through the murky water, an astonishing sight emerged. Not shapeless structures of mud and rock, but clear architectural works. Sandstone walls still stood firm against the erosion of time. Cobblestone streets, where thousands of footsteps once passed, were now pathways for marine creatures. They found evidence of a bustling seaport, a once thriving center of commerce and culture. The scientists came to a single conclusion, a declaration that shook the worlds of history and religion. These were the ruins of ancient Dwarka, the legendary city of Lord Krishna. To understand the importance of this discovery, just imagine. For billions of Hindus, this is not just finding an ancient city. This is finding the city of a god. Lord Krishna, the embodiment of compassion, love, and wisdom, one of the most revered and beloved deities. Finding Dwarka is akin to Christians suddenly discovering that the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant were real. It reinforces faith, turning myth into history, and when the researchers returned to the ancient texts, the ancient Sanskrit scriptures, they began to read them not as allegories, but as historical records. And what was recorded in them now took on a completely different, much more terrifying meaning. The ancient texts tell of a horrific war. A king named Salva attacked Dwarka with a flying ship. Imagine a machine capable of flying in the sky, raining down beams of energy like rain, destroying much of the city with a weapon described as being similar to lightning. As the slaughter unfolded, Lord Krishna responded. He used a type of weapon fired at the ships. They were described as arrows, but they were no ordinary arrows. It was said that they roared like thunder when launched and shot forth like lightning or the rays of the sun. The sky erupted in a symphony of light and destruction. Many other flying ships began to appear, moving in ways that today we can only describe with a single term, UFOs. Ancient astronaut theorists believed that this was not a war of swords and magic. This was a detailed description of a high-tech battle. The gods of legend were in fact beings possessing advanced alien technology with spaceships and sophisticated weapons of unimaginable destructive power. Legend has it that after the war, unable to fully protect his city, Lord Krishna decided to leave Earth. And then the ocean rose, swallowing the entire city, not in the fury of a tsunami, but as a deliberate act to protect its secrets from the encroachment of the outside world. The discovery of the Dwarka ruins changed everything. It forced us to ask disturbing questions. Did the ancient Indians really witness a war between extraterrestrial forces? Were the ancient scriptures, the sacred texts, not just mythology, but chronicles of alien contact in our distant past? If such a high-tech war took place in the skies of ancient India, are there other traces of a similar conflict elsewhere on the planet? Could it be that a sacred lake on top of the world, on the other side of the globe, is also hiding a similar secret beneath its icy waters? From the cities submerged deep in the warm oceans of India, our quest ascends to a new height, quite literally. Let us journey to the roof of the world, to the majestic Andes Mountains of Peru. Here, at an altitude of nearly 4,000 meters above sea level, lies a sacred body of water, as still as a giant mirror reflecting the deep blue sky. This is Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world. For centuries, the local people have passed down legends of a lost city beneath these clear waters, a city named Wanaku. They believe that it was from the heart of this lake that the children of the sun, the ancestors of the Inca, stepped onto the land. They believe that the great creator god, Viracocha, who created the universe, the sun, the moon, and the stars, also resided here. To them, Titicaca is not just a lake, but the source of life, the place where the soul will return after death. For a long time, the outside world considered these stories to be mere legends, until August 2000. An Italian expedition of explorers and archaeologists equipped with modern technology decided to lift the mysterious veil of this legendary lake. The results far exceeded everyone's expectations. As the divers descended to a depth of 35 meters, they did not find mud and rock. Instead, they found the ghosts of a forgotten civilization. An ancient paved road, a huge foundation, and a wall nearly a kilometer long, all leading to an ancient temple determined to be around 1,500 years old. These findings turned legend into reality. The researchers found countless artifacts, fragments of gold objects, exquisite ceramic and stone statues, and even human and animal bones. This was irrefutable evidence of a city that had once existed and flourished before being submerged. What is astonishing is that its age of 1,500 years indicates that this city existed long before the mighty Inca Empire came into being. So, who built it? An important detail was discovered. Lying amidst the lake's sediment was a large, exquisitely carved stone head. Upon comparison, scientists quickly recognized an astonishing similarity. It was almost identical to the stones found at the ancient city of Tiwanaku, located just 20 kilometers to the south. Tiwanaku, one of the most mysterious sites on Earth. A city built from megalithic stone blocks, some weighing hundreds of tons, cut and fitted with such precision that not even a knife blade could slip between them. When the first Spanish conquistadors arrived here and asked the local Aymara people who had built this place, the answer they received was simple: giants. The Spanish scholars themselves, upon seeing the giant stone blocks, could not believe they were man-made. They thought only the devil or some supernatural force could have done it. When we look at the perfect cuts on the stones at Tiwanaku, we get the strong feeling that we are witnessing the legacy of an ancient construction technology, a technique completely forgotten in history. And now, a sister city to Tiwanaku has been found at the bottom of Lake Titicaca, an undeniable link between two legendary sites. If these ruins are indeed the lost city of Wanaku from the legends, then what happened to it? Was it just the victim of an earthquake or some other natural disaster? The question of the fate of the city of Wanaku pushes archaeologists into a logical dead end. The problem lies with the element of time. The ruins are determined to be 1,500 years old. The hypothesis that ancient people built an entire city from scratch under the cold water is completely unrealistic. Therefore, the only viable option is that the city was submerged by water, and this event must have occurred at the same time as its age, that is, 1,500 years ago. But this creates an even bigger contradiction. How could ancient people have created a giant lake, 118 miles long and 50 miles wide, in just 1,500 years? The legends of the local Aymara people say that this lake has existed since the beginning of time, the place where all civilization originated. Geological evidence also supports this assertion. Lake Titicaca has been there for thousands, even tens of thousands of years. So how can a young 1,500-year-old city lie at the bottom of a millennia-old old lake without any sign of a catastrophic geological upheaval? This is where we must listen to the stories of the local people, stories that mainstream science often dismisses as superstition. They tell that the great structures here originated from the stars. They speak of space brothers, the term they use for visitors from other worlds who came to their land through the gate of the gods. Legend has it that these space brothers came, they ate, lived, and worked together with humans. They possessed superior knowledge and experience, and they directly guided the Aymara ancestors in building the magnificent structures. They were described as very powerful people, perhaps alluding to physical strength or the ability to use high-tech tools that ancient people had never known. If so, could the city of Wanaku have been created by the Aymara ancestors with the help of extraterrestrial visitors? And if so, is it possible that it was intentionally sunk to hide it from the discovery of the outside world? The tales of the local people do not just stop in the past. To this day, they continue to report strange phenomena. Cristina Sorpresa, a respected elder in the region, has recounted the stories that have been passed down. They talk about lights, like stars in the sky, suddenly swooping down and plunging straight into the lake's surface. They describe seeing giant blue spheres or glowing disc-shaped objects moving along the bottom of the lake. Some witnesses even claim to have seen tall beings with pale blue skin appearing near the lake's shore. These stories, when combined with the paradox of the city's age, begin to paint an astonishing picture. Lake Titicaca may not only be the burial place of an ancient city, but also the hiding place of an active underwater alien base. This would be the most logical answer to the difficult puzzle. Moving a 1,500-year-old city to the bottom of an ancient lake without needing a geological catastrophe. It was simply submerged purposefully. From the mysterious figurines on 3 continents to the ghost cities at the bottom of the Indian Ocean, and now a potential base on the peaks of the Andes. Each discovery raises more questions than answers. It may be that not all of these underwater relics are related to the presence of extraterrestrials, but their existence is a powerful reminder that the history we know still has giant missing pieces. They defy all logical arguments, as if they have been there since the dawn of time. We have too little information to state anything with certainty, but their existence forces us to admit a truth. We were not the first civilization, and perhaps we are not alone. So how many more cities are sleeping in the darkness of the ocean? And those lost pieces of history once found, what will they tell us about the true story of our own origins?